Welcome to Life After, a podcast for women to take you from feeling like you're just surviving to thriving, to creating a life you really love. Expect to discover tips and tricks to get there. Each episode will have actionable steps to empower you to make changes. I started this podcast because I've been through it all, from getting out of a marriage with a narcissist to completely rebuilding my life. And now I'm on a mission to help you too. You can change your life. It's absolutely possible. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Unknown. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle. You'll never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret to your success is found in your daily routine. John C. Maxwell. Creating a healthy daily routine keeps you grounded and can have a big impact on your physical and mental health. Unknown. One of your favorite episodes was the episode I did on routines back in season 1, so I thought we'd revisit it. As a reminder, routines create structure and set the habits needed to reach your goals. It is also good for your mental health, improves your sleep, and helps you feel more in control. Another of the benefits of keeping a routine is that it allows you to organize the inevitable chaos of life. It means you already know what you're doing each and every day. Once you're finished with one task or one project that you're working on, you already know what's next on your schedule. This saves you the mental energy of having to decide which of the many things you will have to do next, and allows you to prioritize in advance, that's the key, the most important items to be handled. This structure provides direction in your life, which enables you to act instead of standing still because of a lack of direction, or what happens so often to us is decision paralysis. The coherence of an ordered life also lays the groundwork for the pursuit of larger goals, and thus the equally important aspects of purpose and significance. Finally, a solid routine includes breaks and downtime. That part is so important. When we talked about this episode, I joked about routines being boring, but you guys really love it. So here we go. You know, we only have so much mental energy each day, the research shows. And there's this old story that goes, it's been told many, many times. The first time I heard it, my sister told me about it, and she had heard it from a professor. And it's told several different ways, but as she heard it, professor pulls out a large mason jar, and he says, "How much can you get in this mason jar?" And he puts in several big rocks and asks, "Can you get anything else in here?" And the students say, "No, can't get anything else in there." And so then he puts in some smaller rocks and says to the students, "Can you get anything else in here?" And they say, "No, can't get anything else in there. You filled it up." And so then he pours in some gravel. And then he asks, "Can you put anything else in here?" And they say, "No, you can't put anything else in there." And then he pours in some sand. And he says, "Can you put anything else in here?" And of course, by now they're thinking, well, he's going to put something else in there. So, but they say, "No, you can't put anything else in there." And then he pours water and then fills up the mason jar completely. And of course, the purpose of the story is that you always have to put the big things in first and fill the small things in around. And of course, for each and every one of you, you have to decide what the big things are for you. What are the most important things, the big things in your life that you have to put in your life first? and then you fill in the other things around it. We're going to talk at the end of the episode, we're going to revisit the perfect day. So I just want to kind of preface, be thinking about what are those big things for you? What are the things that you want to be putting in first so that your perfect day really is representative of the things that matter to you most? Are you finding yourself struggling in a relationship and wondering if you're dealing with a narcissist? You're not alone, and I've got a resource that can help. Get my 5 questions to confirm you're not the problem. This helps you identify the emotions associated with being in a controlling relationship. Just head over to locatecoaching.com/5 questions. That's locatecoaching.com/5 questions. And take the first step toward clarity and confidence in your relationships. So, the next thing we're going to talk about is our calendar. When you have a routine, keeping a calendar can really be helpful. And while I keep a traditional calendar, of course, my Gmail calendar, for those of you that know me really well, you've seen my color-coded calendar. Everything gets is color-coded so that it helps me visually be able to know what specifically, what category or what, I've got a color for each kid. I've got a color for work. I've got a color for my own personal work. I've got a color for, household type things. And that helps me visually know exactly where my time is going. So that's one way that you can kind of break down your routine and have an understanding of where your time is going and making sure that those big important things are the things that you're spending your time on first, and keeping your routine consistent with how you want to be spending your time. One of the things that I've learned, though, in the last couple of years is also keeping open space in your calendar. Because what happens is when we are busy, which so many of us are, and we fill our calendar with every single moment, it tends to be overwhelming. And sometimes it actually makes us less productive. And even if you end up leaving open space by setting that calendar time aside so that you've got space to have flex time, you can do that. The other thing is, in addition to my calendar, I keep I'm beta testing a program, and so I've built out a workbook that I keep that is specifically designed to have those items that I'm most focused on as a part of my daily routine. And so that I can keep track. What you track is what you do in life. So keep in mind when you're building out your routine that those things that you're tracking are going to be the things that you're regularly doing and making part of your habits in your routine. And so I created a workbook that I've printed out, and it holds the daily tasks and the routine items that are most important to me so that I can track them and track them over time and carry those project ideas and project tasks I want to be doing regularly, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, to see projects through. So there's more ways to manage your routine than just a calendar. Keep that in mind. If you're curious about that workbook that I keep, reach out to me because I'm happy to share the ideas with you if you're interested in giving that a try. Time blocking is the next way that we can manage a routine, and the idea here is that, time blocking is not a new thing. It's a way that people have managed their time and kept routines for a really long time. So I won't spend a ton of time on it, but time blocking is you set you set specific blocks of time aside to get things done. It is one of the benefits of it is it's one way to allow you to stay focused on the things that are really important. It takes some discipline to stick with your time blocking time. A lot of people use it to get those things done often that they don't really want to do. It's, eating the frog and doing it. People often will time block first thing in the morning so that they get those tasks done first thing and then can move on for the rest of their day. It's you often see it's really super effective if you're in sales. Many of you know I spent most of my professional career before now in real estate, and so you'll hear in that field, in sales specifically, real estate sales, people talking about how they'd come in and they'd time block doing their sales calls in the morning, then they get them done, they're out of the way, and this really can lead specifically in that field, can lead to increasing your business in a way exponentially, because you're doing the daily tasks that are going to create you're taking the daily actions that are going to create results for you and get you the kind of outcomes that you want. So time blocking is a really great thing to do. And the biggest thing with time blocking is making sure that you actually set a specific amount of time, and that most importantly, you create transitions. That transition period. So if you're going to time block for an hour, let's say, you work for 50 minutes and then you spend 10 minutes transitioning. When you have that transition time, it allows you to move out of the work you were doing and into the work you are going to do next. And this is really key because our brain needs that little break. Get up, get your drink of water, your cup of coffee, or use the restroom, do all those things, and give your brain that break to transition from sales calls into writing, let's say. And make that really clear transition. That's what makes time blocking. It's one of the things that makes time blocking so effective, is using the transition time. So always when you're time blocking, build that transition time in and try it out. Even if you only try time blocking for an hour or two of your day, if your days are really unpredictable, which I know is one of the reasons people are resistant to try routines. Even if you can only get in 1 or 2 hours of time blocking, they're highly effective for moving projects forward, or even just giving you focused time. So you don't have to time block your whole day. You can even just time block an hour or two and give yourself those transitions. All right, so productivity, I've talked about this in the first episode we did in routines. This one, of course, always gets me. I, and I'm sure many of you, always believe you can be more productive than you'd like to be. I often tell people I know how busy I am based upon how many things I try to get done in a day, and when I have to break down my schedule in 15-minute increments. This is another way that I use my calendar to heighten my productivity. Is, I keep appointments and things in my calendar, but when I use my workbook, I will actually look at the things I have to do, and I will either assign them a time. We're going to talk about the usefulness of that in 1 second, or I will actually create my day of projects with, 10 to 11, I'm doing this. 11 to 11:30, I'm doing this. 11:30 to noon, I'm doing this. And it's similar to time blocking, but it can also be task-based, right? Time blocking, you really use, people talk about it when they're writing, when they're really trying to move through harder tasks or creative tasks. I use it as much for even just getting any kind of task done or things that I'm short tasks that I'm trying to just move through, making phone calls, that kind of thing. So it can be, I can use the benefit of my calendar to be more productive. And that's when I say, I know that I'm super busy when I'm breaking things down into 15-minute increments. I'll make this phone call from 10:30 to 10:45. I'll do this quick task from 10:45 to 11, right? But I do find that it allows me to get more things done. I follow Life Hack Method, which is Demir and Carrie Bentley. You can just find them by Googling them. They have a million YouTube videos, and they have tons and tons and tons of great free content. If you're interested, they talk about productivity. One of their big things is, avoiding email at all costs, which I do believe is a helpful way to allow us to get more time in our day and kind of streamline our routines. They have always said that you can get about 10 things done in a day, 2 or 3 big things, 4 or 5 medium thing, 3 or 4 medium things, and 4 or 5 small things. I'm not sure if that adds up to 10, but it's about close. And of course, I've always been kind of resistant to that. I always want to get more done. I think that's probably accurate after I've spent a long time pushing that number. And I think the reason for that is because we absolutely have to build in breaks. You've got to have breaks and downtime. If you don't, I can tell you this from experience, if you don't, you're just going to burn out. You might try to push through for periods of time. If you're younger than me, you're going to have success pushing through for longer, but eventually you're just going to burn out, and you're going to have more than one day, sitting and staring at your computer or being stuck in front of the TV, just mindlessly binge watching or scrolling on your phone. And as we know from lots of the episodes I've done, particularly recently, getting stuck in doom scrolling is never going to move you forward in anything. So in terms of productivity, I do recommend, particularly if you're like me, where you've got lots of different projects going on, try to break down into, a reasonable number of things you want to get done in a day, and focus on those things, get them done. Don't let them be hanging chads and hanging over your head. There's nothing worse than carrying the same thing forward day after day after day. In Life Hack Method, they would say, let go of it if that's what you're doing. Recognize that it's not the thing that you want or need to be doing at the moment. And, just kind of have if you've got a lot of projects going on and you're finding that you're not being as productive, build into your routine, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to work on project A. Tuesday, Thursdays, I'm going to work on project B, so that you can give those things your full attention and not be trying to juggle between them. That's my recommendation for how you would be more productive and keep a consistent routine, so that you're consistently moving forward in both projects. So the next tip I'm going to give you is to set a clock. A lot of the times, and this is particularly effective if you're wanting to try to start getting some regular exercise into your life, set a clock. Start with 15 minutes. The thing is, that resistance in our head, those little gremlins in our head that are, we don't want to do this. Don't make us do this. You don't have to do this. We can tune them out after a couple of minutes of doing something. I tell my clients this a lot. If you just start with 15 minutes, and even if that feels like too much resistance to get over, start with 5. You just got to start. Just like that first quote in the very beginning. You just got to start. And often that'll quiet the noise in your head. And also habit stacking. We're going to talk about a couple books in just a second. But habit stacking. So you could give yourself a treat. If I'm walking on the treadmill, then I can look at Instagram while I'm on the treadmill, or I can binge watch my favorite TV show while I'm on the treadmill. Those are the kinds of things. So start the clock and then give yourself a treat while you're doing it. Are going to be ways that you can add to your routine and encourage yourself to follow through with the habits that you're trying to build within your routine. What happens is after 5 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, again, I would start with 15 if you can, is you settle in and you go, oh, I'm already here. I'll just do another 5 minutes. I'll just do another 10 minutes. What I find is we'll stick with the treadmill example. If you're on the treadmill, you're 15 minutes in, you're walking at a 3.5 minute pace, which is just over 17 minute miles, and you've walked 15 minutes and you go, oh, I'm so close to a mile, I'm just gonna walk the extra couple minutes to get to the mile. And then you get to a mile and you go, oh, well, it's 17.08 minutes, I'm going to get to 20 minutes. And you find ways to just kind of move yourself forward and just get a little more, just do a little more. If it's with, homework and you're 15 minutes in, you go, oh, well, I have 3 more pages to read to get to the end of the chapter. I'm halfway there. I'm 2/3 of the way there. I might as well finish it. So that's the benefit of setting a clock. Is once you're started, you've got momentum behind your side, and on your side rather, and you can keep yourself going. The other tip about setting a clock is really blends in with the productivity, and that is sometimes we only have so much time. And I actually learned this from one of my professors in grad school, and he said, you will spend the amount of time that you that you give yourself for something. So when you don't have a lot of time, then give yourself obviously a reasonable amount of time. You're not going to write a 10-page paper in 15 minutes, right? That's not realistic. But if you have something that needs to be done, we're going to stick with the school theme since it was grad school. If you have an assignment, give yourself an hour. Tell yourself, I have an hour to get this done. And then set a timer. Your brain will move you through that assignment in an hour. Because if you do one of two other things, you either don't allot yourself time to get it done, or you have it open-ended, you will take way more time than you need to get it done. And what happens in that case is, for those of you out there that might be perfectionists, this, not that I would know anything about that, you will put in too much time. You will try to make it too perfect. You will procrastinate, trying to move on from it because you want it to be perfect. That is one potential possibility. So set a clock in that sense that you say, I have an hour to do this. I'm going to take an hour to do this. And you will move through it more efficiently and productively so that you can get it done within that hour. So there are 2 ways you can set a clock to build out your routine and know how much time you have for something and give yourself the benefit of keeping to your routine by doing that. All right, so habits. Habits also kind of get the bad rap like a routine does. What the thing with sticking to a routine is it allows us to kind of create those habits that are gonna match our goals and our aspirations. A routine, the best part of a routine is that it helps us develop good habits to get us to our full potential, right? All those things that I just said, all those tips I just said about keeping a calendar, time blocking, productivity, setting a clock, tracking your mental energy every day, knowing that you only have a certain amount of mental energy every day and using those tips to manage that mental energy and getting your big rocks in every day. Those are all the things we use to develop those good habits to reach our full potential. But a routine also helps us get rid of the bad habits that aren't serving us by helping us keep the good habits. So it really, routines really serve us in so many ways. There are 3 books that I've read that you guys all know I'm a book nerd, absolutely love my books. There are 3 books that I've read. I know I've mentioned all 3 of them at some point in episodes in the past. So this isn't going to be the first time. It won't be the last time I've mentioned. I'll mention them, I'm sure. The first one is The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran and Michael Lennington. The second one is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Both of these I've read in the last 6 months. Absolutely love them both. I read them back to back, and I think that's part of why they held so much power for me. I read Atomic Habits first and then The 12-Week Year. And I was using my workbook that I created already. I had already created it because I'm really a student of getting the most out of life. And then once I read the 12-week year, I modified my workbook to include tracking my targets and shifting it in a slightly different way. And so I really they're great ways to look at your habits and what you're doing and how you're doing it. The third book is High Performance Habits. I read this book probably, 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago. It's by Brendan Burchard. He's, of course, huge. You may or may not have you may have heard of him, know of him. He's got tons of content out there for free if you want to check him out. And his is more formulaic. His High Performance Habits book is more formulaic. And, the thing I remember about his book is really feeling inspired by it. I didn't take as much practical stuff out of it and necessarily, I'm sure I did, but I remember feeling really inspired after reading it. And so, if you have the opportunity to pick up between the 3, they're super helpful to if you, like me, want to really continue to be working at your highest level. And if you really want to be working at your highest level, of course, you guys know one of my all-time favorite books is Rise of Superman. That's really taking it to a whole new level. The other thing I want to add about James Clear, I'm also, because I'm constantly reading, I'm also constantly getting on their email lists and getting their newsletters. And I have to say that James Clear has one of the best newsletters weekly emails. It's not really a newsletter, it's really his weekly email. One of the best I've ever gotten, ever. So check that out. Maybe get on his newsletter, and then you'll get a feel for kind of what he does. Absolutely love it. All right, so we're going to just revisit doing your perfect week. This is an exercise that you can do where you look at all of the things that you do, all of the categories that you that are part of your life in any given week, and rate them. You can do it in a wheel. You can do it just rating it on a scale of 1 to 10. If you're super visual, you can do it on a wheel. You can create just a simple wheel with the different categories you want to look at, and then you basically color in the wheel for how well you think you are living your best life in each category, and then you get kind of a visual for what your wheel looks like, and it lets you know places in your life, categories in your life where you might want to improve or where you might want to, give some attention to. It also, when you do, doing a wheel allows you to see where you might want to give some attention. Then the actual perfect week exercise is laying out exactly how you want your week to look. In a perfect world, what would every day of your week look like? Now, you can do this professionally so that you're just doing your perfect week from Monday to Friday. You can do it personally so that you're kind of overlaying what your personal life looks like. You can integrate both your professional and personal life. You can do it however you want. That's the beauty of it. You get to choose how you want to do this exercise so that you are looking at the things in your perfect week that you want to be looking at. Most of you, if you do this exercise, are going to do it more professionally than anything else, I suspect. But I encourage you also to think about adding in your personal life, even if you're only looking at the calendar from Monday to Friday, because those elements, obviously, of your life Monday through Friday don't go away, right? We still have our personal lives, our families. Lots of our lives are surrounded by the things that we're doing personally. And you just lay out what your life, in a perfect world, what you'd like your life to look like. Now, a couple of things are going to happen here. When you create what you want your perfect life to look like, your perfect week to look like, you're establishing in your brain, and your brain's going to go to work on that, right? You're giving your brain an idea of what that looks like, and your brain's going to go to work on that, even your subconscious. So you might see some great results, which is wonderful. The categories, I'm just going to throw out some categories. So I took this from a coaching exercise that I did in my certification a long time ago. So this isn't every category that you might come up with, but they tend to be the general overall categories. It's a fairly inclusive list. If you have something on your list that I've missed that seems pretty important, please message me so I can modify this list. But here's some ideas. Fitness, mental health, learning, work, spirituality, your life as a parent, your partner or spouse, friendships, hobbies, personal finances. And again, you want to build in, what I haven't put on this list, we've already talked about, you want to build in downtime. I haven't put on this list time for yourself. So keep those items, those categories in mind as well. And then once you've put together your perfect week, you want to test it out. Just kind of want to see where in your current life you could get more aligned with your perfect week. And the key to your perfect week is you're never going to get it 100%. None of us are. Like, people who do this, who are absolute and complete superstars, they get it right like 80% of the time. So there's no perfection in your perfect week. Maybe we should call it something other than the perfect week. Maybe we should call it what I'm striving for, my most ideal week. Maybe that's not a good title. It's way too long. You're not going to get your perfect week perfect. Nobody ever does, because there is no perfection. We're striving for maybe it's an easy a life of ease week. Maybe that's a better. In any case, try it out. And I'd like to guarantee that you'll see some changes in what your schedule looks like. You'll see some ease. You'll see those places. You'll identify those places where you're doing things that you don't need to do. You'll identify those places where you can delegate things you really don't want to do, and that you are are maybe, hopefully, finding those areas that you're really aligned with, you really want to lean into, you're really passionate about, and therefore building more time in for those things. That's what I really hope you find when you do the exercise of your perfect week. Your My Life is Full of Ease week. All right. All of these tips, I'm really, really hoping will help you create and hone a routine that makes you more productive, happier. I don't love the word happy. More joyful, focused, rested, healthier, and really consistently moving towards whatever is most meaningful to you in your life. Wow. Now that doesn't seem so boring after all. This podcast is a valuable resource for anyone seeking to make meaningful changes in their life. I'm here to support you on your unique journey, offering guidance and encouragement every step of the way. There will be new episodes on the second and fourth Wednesday every month. Please follow on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss any episodes. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode on routines. Remember, having a routine is the thing that is going to move you in the direction you want and help to keep you focused on your goals and attaining your dreams.
As we wrap up, here's the thing. I've made every mistake. I've literally been there and done that. It's one step at a time, and you'll get there. There's hope. You've got this. If you're struggling in a relationship and wondering if it might be controlling, you're not alone. Download my free PDF at locatecoaching.com/free gift to help you find clarity and confidence. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you soon.